change, transition. These are more than just words for some people. Sometimes change and transition can be difficult, especially for those that are transitioning, whether this be going from military to civilian life or law enforcement to civilian life, or even unfortunately, somebody might have served time in prison and transitioning back into the real world. Change and transition can affect a lot of people. Today we're going to sit down. We're going to talk with another member of the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen, Mr. Chad Smith, and his changes from military to civilian world. And I can relate to that as a veteran of the United States Army. And I'm glad because there are some veterans that are listening and watching today that are dealing with this transition, and there are some that are getting ready to get out that are dealing with this transition. So let's go into the studio today. We're going to sit with Chad Smith from the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen, and we're going to discuss change on this episode of the Gentleman's Forum.
Not every conversation needs to be loud. Not every disagreement needs to become hostile. And not every man is interested in spectacle. The Society of Ordinary Gentlemen exists for those who believe that courtesy still matters, that restraint is a strength, and that how one conducts himself, especially when it is inconvenient, is a measure of character. This is not a platform for self-promotion. It is a place for thoughtful discussion, mutual respect, and personal accountability. The Society of Ordinary Gentlemen is an online community with the mission of cultivating modern gentlemen by teaching skills, habits, and mindsets that elevate personal style, communication, health, and lifestyle through community, courses, and mentorship. Membership is open to adults willing to uphold these standards.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Gentleman's Forum. I am Anthony Bunchen, the host of the Gentleman's Forum and also the managing director for the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. And it is indeed an honor and a pleasure today to have with me one of the members of the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen, Mr. Chad Smith. Chad, welcome to the Gentleman's Forum. So glad to have you here today.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
And Chad, we met over on another community, and I was always just really impressed with your style of clothing is just phenomenal. I mean, every time I see you post your outfits and stuff, I'm like, man, I like that tie, or man, I like that suit, and I know, but it's not just the way you dress; it's the way you carry yourself, and listening to some of your topics and your posts that you post. I thought it'd be a great opportunity to have you here on the Gentleman's Forum because, we all can use some encouragement. We can use some advice and stuff. And I figure, what better way to do that. And also, when I met you over the other community and I invited you over here to the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen, I saw the way you are, and I just knew that this would be something that I felt that you would appreciate and want to be involved in. And it's so good to have you in the society. So let's get started. Chad, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? You're right now in Australia, correct?
Yeah. I was born and raised in Australia. I was born in Adelaide, so that's in South Australia, and I moved all around the country with my dad. Was in the army. Unlike him, I didn't want to go to the army, so I joined the Navy, and I was in there for 26 years. So I joined the Navy in 1993 and left in 2019. So I've been doing this out of the Navy for 6 years now, 6.5 years. Probably took me a couple of years once I got out of the Navy to understand what it was to be a civilian or not be told what to do or how to dress. So I started dressing sort of in suits and that more often as of about 2020, 2021. And that's roughly when I found RMRS because I was scrolling through YouTube and all that sort of thing. I've Yeah, so I've always looked after clothes. I've enjoyed, not enjoyed it, but I know how to look after the clothes. Like I do all the ironing and stuff at home because it's something I did through my naval career. Even though my wife's also in the Air Force, I iron her clothes as well. Uh, yeah, that's pretty much me as I grew up. So I've had that military background quite extensively.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's interesting because in talking to you, I realized how much we have in common. Um, I grew up in the military family as well, and then I went into the military myself. I went into the army, so you know, having that
Can't help
having
that.
that upbringing and having that that structure in our lives, it has played a big part in who we are. And like you know, wearing a uniform, for years and then getting out, it's a transition trying to figure out, you know, um, not just who you are, but what type of style you want to have because you know basically in the military you only have one style and that was the uniform that they gave you. So getting out, it was a transition period of trying to find yourself and your style and everything. So I have a couple of questions I want to discuss with you today. Um, how would you define or describe a gentleman and how you feel that it compares to today's modern gentleman?
So the what people perceive as a gentleman is something probably from like the 60s, 70s, 50s, 40s, and back then sort of thing. Like the richer people, the people that wear their top hats and have their canes and that sort of stuff. That's kind of what the people would perceive the gentleman to be like. It has changed and evolved obviously as it's gone along. Like I don't carry a cane. I have a bowler hat. I don't have a top hat though. Uh, it's not so much a mindset, it's how you carry yourself. I believe that's what it is, how you carry yourself. Your values are the values of what a gentleman used to have. Uh, and again, back to that military thing, that they had the values of loyalty, courage, honesty, and integrity. They're
Right.
almost values of what a gentleman should be. And not just as we've discussed before, it's not just external, it's also internal to yourself. Like your courage, your honesty, other people's courages and their honesty, your integrity, and that being truthful not just in like how you speak, but to your values and to you.
Okay. Well, now having coming from the military standpoint, as we both have, because I notice that you yourself wear a lot of hats. Because I've
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
pictures and stuff, and I wear a lot of hats. You know, um, and I'm pretty sure you're probably like me. In the military, we were taught, when you walk into a building, remove your cover. Um, so having said that, do you find that a lot of your military training and your family upbringing played a big part in your journey on being a gentleman? As far like with transition, I know because like for me, I was raised up. Like I said, my father was Air Force officer, my mother was a nurse, my dad was also a minister, so I had that structure. I really didn't take it seriously like I should have, but that foundation was there, and it helped me. It helped me when I went into the military as far as discipline and stuff. But I think it also helped me when I transitioned out, into being a gentleman, because you had that structure. Did you find that it was kind of easy, finding your style and your journey as a gentleman a little bit more easier than probably was somebody who'd never done it before?
Potentially, I'll just go back to that being a defense, what we call defense brat. I was definitely a defense brat when I was in school. But you had that ingrained knowledge and that sort of stuff and understanding of discipline and hierarchical structure because there kind of was a hierarchical structure at home. Like being the eldest, I was made to make sure all the dishes were done, everything was ready, even though it wasn't my particular job. If it wasn't done, I was the one that got in trouble for it. But doing 26 years in the Navy, things like taking your hat off or cleaning your shoes now are almost second nature as such
Right.
because you don't necessarily think about it as much anymore because it's something you've done for a while. Someone who hasn't done that might find it a bit harder at the start, but once you get used to it, it's just easy to do. It becomes that second nature thing. It becomes something that flows. Yeah, like it definitely, yeah, definitely. I found it easier once I understood what I wanted to do. Like I said, it took me a couple of years to demilitarize myself and understand I had to actually say words instead of a whole bunch of acronyms or a whole bunch of things that aren't even real outside of defence. But once you get there, it's a lot easier. It becomes a lot easier once you make that decision and decide where you want to go. It becomes a lot easier.
Sure, and and I know you said, and which goes along with what we were talking about this transition, because you were saying earlier that you do most of the ironing because you enjoy and you did it for so long in the military. And the same with me, we had to iron our uniforms and stuff. So that transition part for us was probably easy, because we were doing it anyway. You did it in the military, you did it, so ironing a dress shirt, or steaming your pants or something, it really wasn't no big deal for us. Now, for somebody that's never done this, I can imagine it was, it might seem difficult or monotonous, but for us, it's just a continuation of our upbringing. So yeah,
I do wish I had found sapphire shoe cream while I was in defence, though. My God, that stuff rocks.
I know. There's several things that I do now, and I'm like, man, I wish I had known. I wish I had this when I was there. But it does. It helps us. It helped us make these transitions. When I first got out, I decided, I was just going to do. I wanted to get a break from the structure stuff, and I rode motorcycles within a biker club and stuff. But then, because that foundation was there when I grew up, and then going into military, when I don't want to say come to my senses, but when I realized that that's not who I really was, it made this transition into being a gentleman, starting this journey, a lot easier for me, and
But
I
even
just
that biker club has that structure and discipline.
yeah, and that's the thing about it. When you grow up in a structured environment, I don't know. I think you kind of tend to draw towards these things, like you said, like a biker club, military, whether it's law enforcement, because you grew up in that structured environment, so you kind of gravitate toward these things. Um, so, having said being in the military, I know, like for me, when I first went to military, I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself. And I shared this before in another podcast. Growing up, I had a bad speech impediment. I stuttered a lot, and therefore, and I still do to a point, but nothing like it was. But it gave me that confidence as I was, you know, um, going into the military. How do you relate the your structuring in the military, the confidence and stuff, with how you are now?
Yes, you talk about that speech impediment. I was just remembering, as a child, I was really bad at school, and I was uncoordinated and couldn't catch a ball. So you'd throw the ball at me, it'd hit me in the chest, and I'd close my arms after it, and it would fall to the ground. And my parents got me into remedial PE, and then I started getting more confident with balls and stuff. And my grades increased and improved. I ended up going through school as like a school champion in sports and
Wow.
house team captains and all that sort of thing. So I think sport helped me get confidence. And again, that's that structure and being in somewhere that's got rules and regulations and how to follow. So I think that transition into defence was good. And then coming through defence, you carry yourself slightly differently. Like people seem to think you walk differently. So you walk with that bit more confidence. You wear the uniform, so you've got that bit more confidence, and people notice that. And it's something you can carry forwards into what you become as a gentleman.
Right.
One of the big things I found once I got out of defence was I didn't have to stop, but I started opening doors for more people, whether they were opening it for me previously. I also found that once I wore a suit, officers were allowing me to go before them instead of me letting them go before me. Which is just one of those things you think as a enlisted man, you go, oh my God, that's so good. They're letting me in for a change.
And you get that comment, yeah, open that door for me.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, sure, get that.
so so that that confidence that we obtained through the military and stuff, because the reason why I ask this is because I hear this from a lot of men when they start this journey. And like, let's say you have a gentleman that was used to wearing jeans and printed shirt, or a t-shirt and stuff, and he wants to make this journey into being a gentleman, and he wants to wear a suit, and he's a little apprehensive about how people are going to look at him. And I think having that structured background, when you made that transition and you started wearing a suit, I imagine, like me, it was a little. I felt a little awkward, but I still had confidence in myself, But I just knew that I had people that saw me regularly, because at one point I just wore jeans or cargo pants or whatever, and whatever shirt that was close at hand. So, when I first decided to, start dressing nicer, wearing a suit and stuff, I was a little apprehensive, but I still had the confidence. But once I did that, that confidence just like took over, and it's like I just started wearing suits and
Yeah.
and stuff. Do you feel that it was kind of like the same thing for you?
I think once I transitioned out, it was a little different because I was lucky in a way that when I left defence, I joined a business or a company that was basically a half, if not two-thirds, ex-defence people. And we were wearing like any black pants we wanted to, and they gave us a grey polo shirt to wear. So that's what we wore as our uniform as such for work. And then as I left there and moved into my new business, I was already wearing nice trousers, like tailored pants and that sort of thing. So then I just switched from the polo shirt into a shirt, and I was wearing a shirt and tailored pants and some nice dress shoes to work. And then I just went, well, no, I should wear a tie, and maybe I can get a suit. Maybe I can get sort of some of this. And you get the things when you start rocking up for the first like month or a couple of months in your suit. Are you going for an interview, mate? You got a court appearance today? Is there a funeral on somewhere that you've got to go to?
Yeah.
But I was also lucky with the boss I had at the time. Him and I would discuss tie knots and put our different tie, and then he got me into pocket squares and how to fold pocket squares, and we had a lot of fun doing that. So I think again, it's perception of other people and how people perceive me. Like I'm having grown up moving all around Australia, changing schools all the time. I'm not make and break, but I can talk to people and I can get along and get into conversations quite quickly and easily. So that's a confidence in itself that people pick up on, and they'll talk to you and do that sort of stuff rather than sit in the background and wait for someone to approach you.
And it's interesting that you said that, because you know um, when I made this transition, and I'm like you, and I started wearing suits, and I noticed, I presume that you probably 90% of the time you wear a suit, if I'm not mistaken. And so I wear a suit every day, and on the days that I'm not working, I might have on slacks, and a blazer. But me personally, I prefer now button down shirts or dress shirts, because for me, I can roll the sleeves up if it's hot. I can let them down. I can throw on a blazer and level up. I can take the blazer off and level down. But to me, dress shirts and button down shirts, I'm at the point now where I like wearing them because they're so versatile that you can
Feels
just.
uncomfortable not to wear them.
Yeah, exactly. And so and I think having that confidence and building that up, it makes us easier to make these changes, and I know that there are some men that are out here that are just starting this journey, or are wanting to level up, and they got that little insecurity, and that's why I'm glad to have you here and that we're discussing this, and letting them know that whatever position that you had, whatever job you had, whatever lifestyle you had, that you can make a change,
Mm.
and and I used to take when I first did it, and I noticed people. I walk in and people like look at me, and I was like, people are staring at me, But come to find out, it wasn't a stare of, why is he dressed? A lot of it was just admiration. They're like, oh wow, no, you really look nice. I love that suit, or I love that tie. And it's cool. I found out that they were looking at me not because I look like a freak of nature, but there was actually admiration and admiring of, of, hey, no, this is a well dressed man. And I noticed the
I
response.
sorry, at work, there's some ladies that say they appreciate how I get dressed and everything because they see that a man now understands how much effort they put in.
And it does. One day my wife was having a outpatient surgery done, and I had my grandson with me. My grandson is 14, and he came to me, wanted me to teach him how to be a gentleman. So he likes to wear blazers and polo shirts or button down shirt, and so we had went to my wife to the surgery, and while she was having the surgery procedure done, we were going to walk across the street because I wanted to get some coffee and he wanted to get a soda. And so I had on a suit and he had on a pair of slacks and a button down shirt and a sports blazer on. And so as we walked across the street, these two ladies, as we were walking up to the store, these two ladies were sitting there at the gas station. They were getting gas, and they said, "Excuse me, sir." And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "I just want to let you know that you two look so nice." She's like, "It's so refreshing to see an older man and a younger man dressed so nice." And then when we got back to the hospital, the doctor said he was looking at the window and he saw me, my grandson, walking across the street, and he was like, I just want to tell you, he said, I am totally impressed with you and your grandson, the way you guys dress. So yeah, it does. It does make a difference.
Yeah,
How
definitely.
how do you feel about believing in yourself when it comes to being on this journey? Do you think it's important to have that, the believing in yourself and that confidence? I know a lot of people are struggling with that. How do you look at that?
Uh, uh, Again, it's feeling comfortable within your skin. So I'm lucky I get to work from home quite a bit. So if I want to try something new, I'll try it on and wear it around the house to feel comfortable in it. Uh, Whereas someone else might not be able to work from home, at least they could put it on and walk around the house. Not obviously do the lawn mowing or anything, but just wear it so you get comfortable in it yourself. And
Sure.
then you don't have to worry about what other people think because you feel comfortable, you're happy and like how you look. Uh, I've been lucky, like with your grandson. My two daughters, so I've got an 8-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old daughter. They like to help me pick my outfits out and that sort of thing. And so I'll go and I'll be starting to get stuff ready because I prepare my clothes the night before. And then one of them come and say, "Can we help you, Dad?" And like I'll show them the suits that they should choose from because obviously you can't wear the same suit 2 days in a row. That's our rule, obviously. That's our rule, not everybody's rule. But they'll pick the suit, and then I'll say, "Okay, now you pick a shirt and tell me which one you think should go with it, and let's pick a tie that goes with it, and let's find the pocket square that matches that." So they've been learning and doing stuff along the way as well. And you will have seen in some of the outfits that I do when I've started saying that this was helped pick by my fashion stylist daughter. This was helped pick by this. The same thing happens again with my wife. She'll say, "What are you wearing tonight for if we're going to go out?" And I'll say, "Well, you pick your stuff. I'll pick mine after that, so that we can match, or I can not dress above you or anything, so that we're kind of equal." Because you don't want to. I don't want to outshine my wife. Not that I can, but I don't want to outshine her clothing or her outfit. So you want to have confidence that you walk together and look good together. And it's everything is it's all the more you practice, like that's why they practice sports. The more you practice, the better you'll feel, and the more confident you'll feel in how you are.
Exactly, and that's what I always try to stress to people, that when you make an intentional effort to do this, it becomes easier every day. And even the coordination of picking out things and stuff, it becomes easier. Now, and part of that is, and this is what I want to ask you about. So, um, when it comes to self conduct and how you carry yourself and stuff, do you feel that it's just as important when you're by yourself and nobody's looking, how you conduct yourself as far as just in the general public?
Yeah, but if you want to take that step into becoming the gentleman, it's not a now and then sort of thing. It's an always sort of thing. Like again, you go back to sports and practice, and you go and practice what you do before you play the game. So if you keep doing it all the time, it becomes second nature. It just rolls. It becomes easy. You don't have to think about what you're saying. You don't have to worry about how you react or how you do things because it's what you do. It's how you are and it's who you are.
Right. And I know like you're into a business type setting as I am. And I know you attend a lot of conferences and meetings and stuff. I can always tell when somebody is wearing a suit that is not used to wearing one. I can tell by the way they're fidgeting, with their clothes. I can tell by how their clothes fit. I can tell by how wrinkled their shirt or their suit is, or how clean their
Whether they've had
shoes.
to borrow it from a friend, whether they bought it the day before because it's still got the little holdings on the vents.
Right, exactly. And so I believe, and I stress this a lot, that like you said, being a gentleman is not something that you put on at 9 in the morning, you take off 5 in the afternoon. It should be a every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It is a lifestyle. And the more, like you said, the more you do it, the more intentional it becomes. The more it's like muscle memory, like you were saying, even in sports. The more you practice, it becomes natural. And if you want to be that gentleman, then the more you exert that, the more you practice that, the more you live that, the more it becomes natural, and you don't have to think about adjusting your tie. You don't have to think about ironing your shirt or stuff, because it's going to become a natural reaction. Like you said, you do like I do. I get my clothes out the night before, get everything laid out, and because I've done it for so long, and I know that if I do that, I know that everything's going to be right when I get up the next morning to get ready to go to work.
Yeah, and it gives you the chance to have a look at what you're about to wear and maybe pick up the scuff on your shoe that you want to fix up or pick up the buttons come loose or something.
Sure. And having said that, that's another aspect of being a gentleman is the maintenance on your clothes. Like you said,
Yeah.
you're looking at your shoes. Are they serviceable? Are they scuffed up? Do they need to be brushed off? Do they need to be polished? Your shirt, like you said, is there a button loose? Is there a stain on it? And your suit, doesn't need to be steam cleaned. Need a steam applied to it. So yes, all these things, and the more we do this on a regular basis, it becomes natural, and you automatically, like I'm sure, when you're getting ready for the next day, you do like I do. You're laying things out, and you know what
Yeah.
everything's going to be at. And so in the morning when you get up, you don't have to go running around trying to find where's my tie, where's my cufflinks, where you got everything lined up, and it becomes a natural second nature thing that every day you're gonna get things ready, and even
You even
on
go
the
into the
weekend.
bathroom and I have my underwear and all my facial stuff and all the other bits and pieces laid out, knowing that I'm going to use that and then put it away after I finish.
Right. And even on the weekends, you're not working, I'm sure you still lay out your stuff that you're going to wear for that day. It's just a natural habit. Um, what are what do you feel that being respected in the work environment and in your life? How would you describe? 'Cause I know a lot of people look up to you, and um, do you feel that it's important to earn that respect of people in the community? For me, I personally think that and I used to have that mindset. I don't care what people think about me, but the reality is you should care, because you want people to see the best version of you. How do you feel that relates?
It's definitely I think, it's something you, depending on the situation, you usually have to earn that respect. I'm lucky in where I work at the moment. I move around to a lot of separate different contracts. so I will, people will understand what I can do and who I am, and I have a level of respect before I get there. But once I'm there, I've still got to show that that respect is there for a reason, and keep that dress standard up. I keep my work standard up, and then again with the communities that we're involved with, I wasn't expecting the respect. I do seem to have a lot of the respect that I never thought I would ever have as such. And even within, I've got an Instagram sort of little following community. I have the same thing. People say there, you've got a wonderful dress sense. I never thought of having a wonderful dress sense. I just pick the things that I think I look good in. People enjoy. I think it's because I'm also 50, and I'm not worried about how I look as such. Like if I pose in a weird way, that's just what I'm doing, and that's okay. It's not too bad. People think that's very refreshing sometimes because I'm not trying to make myself look wonderful, and it's just a natural thing, and that's obviously come from doing the right things, earning respect, understanding where I'm going, and how to react or interact with people as well. Uh, when I was at school, I was always told not told, I was told I was going to be that guy in the blue collar, so in the white collar working all the time, and I'd be the CEO of a company and that sort of stuff. Which, if you look at my 26-year Navy career, that's a weird path to go to get to that position.
Well, I see, I see so many men that are on this journey, and I feel them because I know that they want, they see somebody like you, and they see what you've accomplished and stuff, and a lot of them feel that it's outside their reach, and I think that the biggest thing is, um, if you want people to respect you, like you said, it's something you got to earn. And how do we earn that? We earn that by how we carry ourselves. The way we conduct it, like you said, opening the door for people. You know, um, and you don't have to be the loudest person in the world. You don't have to be the most obnoxious person. It's that way you carry yourself, that confidence you have, and a lot of it is just knowing, even at work, knowing your job, knowing the efficiency of your job, and how to perform it, and being willing to step in to help somebody that you see needing help, and just in your community, because I noticed that on your post that you talk about, which I think is great, how you walk your daughter to school, and you guys stop and
Yeah, yeah.
and you get your coffee and she gets her drink and stuff, you know, and people see you in that aspect. They see you, a well dressed man with his daughter, and and the and the time that you spend with your daughter. All this plays a part of how people respect you and how people see you, and
Mm.
and just um, you know, uh, being involved in the community, even at work, not entertaining gossip, but at the same time, being friendly to people, and being willing to help, and all these qualities, that make up you being a gentleman is what people are going to respect,
Yeah, and I was just thinking too, like that when I walk to and from school with my daughter, I say good morning to anyone I go past, and that's a way to build confidence as well. It's also gets interaction within the community, and since I've been doing it for so long, I've actually got people that I walk past daily. They sometimes start saying good morning to me before I get to say good morning to them. So it helps them, it builds their confidence, it builds your confidence, and it's just a small little thing that can make someone's day at the same time.
Sure, and it does, and you're absolutely right. It does build confidence, especially for a person like myself that grew up having a speech impediment, and stepping outside that comfort zone to initiate a conversation with, um, and being willing to be that first person to speak. Um, I
Yeah, to put yourself out there.
yeah, and for a long time, I would, people thought that I was just mean because I wouldn't say much, and it's just that I just didn't feel like I had that confidence in myself to open up, and now I'm like you, I'll say, Hey, good morning, sir. How you doing? Good morning, ma'am. How you doing? Um, it did. It helped me build that confidence in myself. You know, um, to the point where, and I was sharing this with me and Randall were talking in one of the podcasts, and you can always, I learned this, that especially if you're going for a job interview and you have several people in a large room, and or even if you're going to a conference or something, those speakers and that person up front, they focus on the people in the first two rows, because those are the confident people. Those are the ones that, when they walk in, they go right down front. The people that aren't confident are usually the ones sitting in the back or up against the wall. And so for me, I learned that, when I go in, I might not feel like I have that confidence, but I'm gonna look that way because I'm gonna go right
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
And in doing
Well, that's
so,
the same as when we had our company conference at the start of this year. I was sitting probably about 5 or 6 rows back because I was interested in the topics that we're talking about. Plus, you
Mhm.
also want to be like that. You want to be seen to be interested. You want to be seen to be that you want to be there.
Right, right, and how do you expect to get noticed if you're gonna be a fly on the wall? If you want to advance and you want to move up, and you want to to get that responsibility, to get that promotion, like you said, you have to make yourself known. And there have been many times that I've gone to places, and I might not felt like I don't know if I'm qualified to be here, if I should be here, but they never knew it because I forced myself,
Yeah,
dead walking, I'm walking down toward the front, um, and it really helped me build that confidence in myself, to where now, when I walk in a room, um, and I own that room, and I'm saying it in an arrogant way. I mean, I own that room as far as I own the confidence in myself that I'm going to
yeah.
walk up
People
in.
notice you. People will want to get to know you.
Right, and I'm gonna walk in and with that confidence and introduce myself. And you're right. All this has a big part of building confidence in yourself, and building that respect, and gaining that reputation of it being a gentleman. And it does, it really makes a big difference. Um,
You do have to be willing to fail that little bit so that you can build on that.
yes, exactly. What do you feel was a big contribution to your journey as a gentleman?
My military background, as I said, because having understood the honesty, integrity, courage, leadership, and then also building up to uniform maintenance. Another thing that I'll go back to my grade 5 teacher, Mr. Hetherington. He was the first guy to pull me up for being a bullshitter as such. Uh, I would tell him I couldn't do my homework because my parents had to travel to Melbourne every couple of days, which is like a 200 kilometre or probably about 130, 140-mile trip every second day as such. So I couldn't do my homework. And when I go home and tell my parents, I said, oh, I didn't do my homework. I've done it at school already, so I just wouldn't do homework. And until my parents went to the parent-teacher interview and Mr. Hetherington said to my parents, it's not very fair on your child that you travel every couple of days and he can't do his homework. And my dad, being the military man he was, he went, he what, pardon? So he sort of taught me how to be accountable for what I was doing, and to make sure I did the work that was required of me, that I got to do that sort of stuff. And I hadn't seen him for many years. When he passed away, he became a principal of another school, and it didn't affect me, but it sort of hit you. Go, oh my God, that's someone that I respected. That I had a lot of influence on what I did, and he's passed away. And another bit would be he's now Admiral Justin Jones, in charge of the Joint Operations Area with here in Australia. He was my captain on a ship one time. We used to call him Uncle JJ because that's what you call the officers. You have nicknames for everybody. And he used to do like every 3 or 4 months, or about once a quarter, he would present some paperwork and get everyone to go through and say what they thought of how he was going, how the crew was going, how everyone was going. So he was trying to make things that little bit better each time. It's one of the first times I'd ever seen a CO of a ship want to get everyone involved, not just say this is how I'm going to do it, this is how you're going to do it. My way is the only way we're going to do these things. Not to say he took every bit of advice or that he was soft or anything. He would just try and understand the crew and how everyone was. So that was another good one that helped shape how you want to be, like how you want to get involved with your crew, your team, and that sort of stuff. Like I remember posting in and out of places as I was a senior sailor, so a petty officer, which is kind of like a chief petty officer, I think, for the American Navy. And I would post out, and guys would hear I was posting into my next post and go, "Oh my God, Chad's coming in! That's great." They knew exactly what was expected of them. They knew how I worked, and they were happy to have me coming in because they knew they would have that backup and that sort of stuff. That I wasn't going to take credit for their work, and if they did the right work, I was going to back them up and say, "No, they did everything right. I've told them this is how it happens." So they had that coverage, and that's just learning from other people.
You know, and I think this is a great avenue because one thing about being a gentleman is knowing your limitations and also to admit if you made a mistake. And I think that that's
Yeah,
something
definitely.
that a lot of men lack. Even myself, I did for a long time. Um, I you know wanted to be everything to everybody, and I ended up being nothing to anybody. You know, you know, you have to work on yourself, and you have to build yourself, and knowing your limitations, and then if you make a mistake, own up to it. I had to learn that, and I found out that people respect you more. When you do the
Yeah,
best. And one thing I found out is you don't have to know everything, and sometimes it's better not to know everything because when you put yourself out there as knowing everything and you can't produce,
you get tripped up.
yeah, and then they're like, but see, you say you knew, but if you say, look, I don't know, I honestly I don't know, but I'll find out, and then
Yeah, yeah. I'm unsure of that, so I'll go and look over here and or ask this person, and I'll come back to you.
right, and then if you do mess up, then they're less likely to hold that over you because they're like, hey man, I appreciate you trying, but if you try to act like you know everything and you don't, and I'm sure you heard it too. Everybody wants to say, "Fake it till you make it," and you can't do that because you lose integrity when you do that. It's okay not to know everything, and it's okay to make a mistake.
I think with that fake it till you make it thing, that's something you can do with confidence. So you can fake you've got the
Right,
confidence if you don't
right,
have the confidence until you get that. But you don't want to fake your job. You don't want to fake knowledge
right.
if
Exactly.
you don't have that knowledge.
Right, and exactly, and that's my point. That fake it till you make it in a it doesn't work in a practical application. You can say that
Yeah, yeah.
in your mindset, but in a practical application, you don't want to do that because when you do, you number one, you tell somebody that you can do something that you're not qualified to do. Not only are you going to lose their respect, but you lost that integrity in yourself, you know. And so, like you said, it's okay to have that fake it you make it to build confidence in yourself, but in practical applications, it is okay to say, hey, I don't know, and but I'll find out or I'll try, Um, let's talk about masculinity. What do you feel that masculinity means in today's world? I'll share with you right quick. For me, because I had this, and granted, I grew up in a military background and everything, but you know, I would see these guys and they were, callous on their hands, and uh, their cologne was must and sweat, and
Brute.
yeah, and so to me, I remember growing up and as a teenager thinking that if you took care of your skin, washing your face, if you put on cologne, you might come across as being weak and stuff. And actually, it's just the opposite.
Yeah,
A gentleman takes care of himself. What's your opinion on
yeah.
this?
Like you said, like gone are the days of where masculinity meant you were a lumberjack or someone that was getting dirty or that had ripped up clothes because that's what was expected of a man. Like I think that was the days of my father and his father. So that's what, like 50 odd years ago and that sort of stuff. But again, masculinity, I think it's being confident in yourself, being reliable. I like looking after my two daughters, being someone that can be talked to. So your wife can talk to when she has issues. She needs to be able to talk to somebody. When you have issues, you should be able to talk to her. Having that little group of friends that you can do that sort of stuff with, and feel secure in that. Looking after your skin, like I used to have a beard, and I used to get just down here was always dry, so it was always flaky and that sort of thing. Even when I was in the Navy, as my masculine days as such. But look, having those creams and stuff to fix that sort of thing up, having the confidence to go, yeah, I've got some flaky skin, I'm just going to put this cream on. It's not like it shines and everyone's going to know. It's just you doing it for yourself to feel confident in yourself. And a lot of it comes back to that that confidence and integrity. That's what inconfidence means. It's a combined word.
But
Uh,
you're right about that because if like you said, if your face is breaking out, because you're not washing your face or stuff, and yeah, your confidence is going to be low, because
mm, mm.
everybody notices it, But like you said, taking care of your skin, it doesn't make you less masculine. I think it's just the opposite, because like you said, you're taking pride in yourself.
And it's the way everything's sort of swung coming into the modern age. In the modern day, there's a lot more, not emphasis, but there's a lot more product out there that people can use and people can see and people can select from. A lot more things towards men. And as I say, it's just like the opposite happening with the women's stuff, where they're coming back into the workforce more. Men are coming more into the looking after yourself more.
Hmm. And having said that, I think that so many men out here have this mindset that in order to be a gentleman, we have to buy the most expensive clothes. If you don't have the most expensive clothes, you're not a gentleman, and it's not. You know,
Well, that's
uh,
why we're the society of ordinary gentlemen, not the society of rich and overpowerful gentlemen.
exactly. And I'm so glad you said that because people have this misconception that in order to be considered a gentleman, you have to have a tailor made custom suit. Your shirt has to be $200 or $300. Your tie has to be. Look, this vest I have on, I bought it on Amazon. This tie I got off of a rack. Actually, it was at a Goodwill store, and I got it for like I think it was like $253, and it was like it still had a price tag on it. So my point is that you don't have to have all this to be a gentleman, and you don't have to be sweaty, and you don't have to have dirt under your fingernails to gain that respect of people looking at you as a gentleman.
You can wear bracelets and jewelry.
Exactly. It doesn't make you any less of a man. And I think you can recall too. It was like at one point, a man didn't even want to wear a watch. Because it was considered jewelry.
Mm-mm.
You know, um, because it was considered jewelry. And like you said, God forbid
Well,
you had on a bracelet.
wristwatches were originally made for women.
Yeah, yeah,
Men
and
had a pocket watch.
yeah, and God forbid, you have on a bracelet. I mean that just
Yeah.
but it's just opposite. There again, a handkerchief. It wasn't considered. Even now, yeah, I carry a pocket square, but I also carry a handkerchief in my pocket. If I need to use it. I taught my grandson, you always keep a handkerchief in your pocket. But we were, in our mindset, back then was, handkerchiefs were for ladies. And it's not.
if you fall over and break your leg, you don't go to the hospital. You just suck it up and keep walking.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, I broke my leg. You got two. Keep moving.
That's
but
it.
but that mindset is what I feel has been hindering so many men for so long. And that's what I like about the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. Like you said earlier, it's the ordinary gentleman. It is not the society of the rich and famous. It's not the society of the high income. It's ordinary gentlemen that are coming together. Um, what do you think are? Go ahead.
So I do think, especially over there in the US, thrift stores are a lot better and it's a lot easier to get stuff. It's a bit different here in Australia. Our second-hand or thrift sort of stores, they do have higher prices on things still, but you can get. I see so many guys talking about the things they find in thrift stores
Mhm.
over there in the US. I bought one suit at full price, and that was because it was a black suit that I needed. Everything else I get like 2 seasons old, or I wait till it comes down on a super sale and that sort of thing. I'm lucky that I've been going to one store so much. The manager of the store, when something I like goes on a really good sale, she gives me a call and says, "Hey, Chad, that suit you like, it's on super sale."
And you know what? That is a great point because, um, as a gentleman, the places that we frequent most, when you take that and use that confidence you have, you take that initiative, and you get to know the employees of these places. They will call you and say, hey, I'm having a sale, or they say, hey, I give you a discount on this. And it's very helpful. um, I there's a couple places where I go to get my clothes and stuff, and I've gotten to know the salespeople there and the managers in there, and I never forget. I walked into the New York Suit Exchange, and they were like, "Hey, Mr. Button, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm doing great. How are you? How are your kids doing?" And this one guy looked at this lady, and he goes, "Is he some type of celebrity or something?" And she goes, and she goes, why? She goes, well, everybody. She's, oh, that's Mr. Button. He comes in here all the time. He's a good customer. It helps because, like you said, they're the ones that will let you know, hey, we're gonna be running a sale, in a couple of weeks, or hey, if they own the place, they'll give you a discount and stuff. And not saying that we do that to get discounts and stuff. What I'm saying is that they respect you, because you patronize their places and stuff, and they respect that. Um,
It's another way to build that confidence. It's another way to learn how to speak to people. It's another, and it's just that ever evolving. This is how I can speak to that person. Why, if I can speak to that person that way, I should be able to speak to a different person the same sort of way and have the same sort of interactions and talking.
sure, sure, and and I'm pretty sure you get a lot of compliments too, because I get it all the time. I'll be out front of my office downtown, and people like, sir, I just want to tell you how nice you look today. I love that suit and stuff. And we walk into a restaurant, and my wife, she's wearing a dress, and I have on a suit, and they're like, there might be a line. They're like, sir, we can get you a table, and right now. And I'm like, no, 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 that's fine. These people are here before us. They're like, no, no. I said, no, they're here for us.
Yeah,
Please
yeah.
go with them. And and people are looking at us like, really, you're not gonna take that. But as a gentleman, no, I'm not gonna step in front of other people. We're gonna wait just like everybody else. It's those qualities that make us gentlemen, and it's the confidence. It's
But that's just respect.
yeah, and in return, you gain the respect of those people, but you are representing not just yourself. You're representing your family. You're representing your boss. It being a gentleman is a huge responsibility to have. And not one we should take lightly. So I want you, if you can, and for the next few minutes, if you can share with our listeners and those that are watching, um, how do you feel that this journey that you're on has impacted you, and also how do you feel about, since you've joined the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen? How do you feel that that's going for you?
Well, initially, so as you start this, you feel like you're doing something new and something that's not very well, not presented, not very well received, or not very big. Having joined the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen, you see there's other people doing the same thing. There's other people that have the same questions. There's other people that have been through this and might be able to help you out with those things that you're unsure of. And again, a mindset. It's a huge mindset. Like yourself, if I work from home, I still put my suit on. I still get ready, and I'm still in that mindset of it's my work day. It's not sit at home in my underpants and a t-shirt and just walk around the house doing nothing. I'm still doing work, uh, and it's respect for yourself, respect for others, and the integrity for you to continue doing that. Everyone should always be learning. You should never think you've learned everything. There's always something new to learn. There's always some way to change things. Like I learned last week a new way to tie my shoelaces. Who would have knew there was a different way to tie shoelaces than just a normal loop, swoop, and pull sort of thing? And that was because I wasn't happy with the way the shoelaces looked when they're on my shoes. So I learned the Baluti knot. Now it's a nice, tidy little knot that goes across my shoe and drapes wonderfully. Learning different types of fabric for your clothing. So I
Yeah.
love to have natural clothing rather than the man-made stuff, because the man-made stuff makes me sweat. Like I can sweat at the best of times just by looking at the wrong thing. But having cotton and having wool and that it breathes and you don't sweat and you don't do that. So it's learning. It's always be learning, and always ask that question. Don't feel silly if you've got a question, because you've obviously got that question for a reason. Just ask the question. If everyone else has the same sort of wonderment or wonder, they will go, "Oh, that's a great question. We should all find out about that." Or someone will go, "Hey, yeah, that's a question that I had a while ago. Here's the answer. Here's where you can find that sort of stuff." So again, yeah, confidence, learning, integrity, work ethic. It all sort of builds in, and once you understand that, it does flow. It does come more natural. I won't say easy, because some people will find certain things hard. You and I were lucky. We had that background where we've had to do that sort of stuff to break ice barriers, to learn something to do that. But once you get in that mindset of I've got to do this, or I need to ask that question, I need to manage my expectations of myself and other people, it does get better.
And that is so true. Since I've come to Society of Ordinary Gentlemen, I have learned so much, and just the mere aspect of knowing that there are other men out here that have the same mindset as you, and that there's actually a place that you can come and hang out with other men, and we have these in-depth conversations, through the school community. We have live video chats. Now we have a podcast. There's just so many things that are going on with the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen, and I want to encourage each of you.
The magazines just started.
Yeah, and the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen magazine, and the Gentlemen's Forum. There are so many exciting things that are happening, and I encourage each and every one of you that if you're listening or watching this podcast and you want to know more about us, there are several ways you can find us. We are actually streaming on YouTube, on iHeartRadio, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Deezer. We are broadcasting in so many different areas now, and also you can go to our website at www.beagentleman.org. You can go on the internet, go to school community, search for Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. Now, I will tell you that it is a private society community. Not saying you can't get in, but we do that to protect the integrity and the solace of the society. The reason we do that is because we want people that are actually serious about being gentlemen, and it is free. But it is funded by donations from the members. But we make it free because we want somebody can't afford it to join. we want to make it available for everybody. And so therefore, we make it free. But we do, when you get on there, you'll have to answer a couple questions. We just want to make sure that you're not a bot or you're scamming to get in. We
A
want,
robot.
yeah, and we want real serious people. But once you get in, you'll find out that there is a wealth of knowledge, a great group of men that are here to help you in your journey. And it is a journey. There is no ending point. There, like Chad was saying, you evolve every day. When you hit the ending point, you reach the end of your life. Being a gentleman is a lifestyle. Chad, I want to thank you so much for being on the Gentleman's Forum, and I hope that you can come back again. And and just the fact that you're in Australia, we got members in Africa, Egypt, we got members all over the world, and we are growing each and every day. So, Chad, thank you so much for being on the Gentleman's Forum, and it's always a pleasure talking to you. And I want to encourage each and every one of you. I challenge you today to be the best version of you. Go to our website, go to the internet, to school, go on YouTube, Spotify, whatever. Look us up, get involved, join us, tell them that you met Chad or myself on the Gentleman's Forum, and we will see you next time on the Gentleman's Forum. And you guys have a great day. And Chad, thank you so much. Goodbye.